Hey, 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 it's Teresa here Wednesday afternoon with my cup of tea to sit down and talk with a man whose spirit and body of work has completely changed the trajectory of my life. Jeffrey, gosh, I'm just getting choked up just saying that. I am so honored that you would be willing to spend this time with me and with the people that follow me on Facebook and follow you. Um, like I said when we were chatting, it's my first Facebook Live interview, but boy, what a great person to jump into this with. And while we're waiting for folks to gather, yeah, there are people here, cool. While we're waiting for folks to gather, I was just thinking before this, when I was out working with you in August at the storytelling workshop, you started out and you talked about how there are people who want to say yes to their call, but first they want to get everything ready and get everything in place and then they'll lead. And there are people who say yes, and they're just going to jump in and they'll figure it out as they go. And I recognized myself in that. And I said, whoa, okay, I'm jumping in and I'm going to figure out how I go. Well, this is one of those, we're going to figure out how this works as we go. So I see Maggie, I see Barb, I see, I can't see, I think Shayna's here. I'm not the best at seeing who's here. Pauline's here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to figure out real quick how to see comments. Hi, Pauline. Happy to be here. Glad you're here as well. So the prompting, and I really feel like it was a prompting to ask you to do this, came when a week ago you did an interview with Siddiqui.
Yeah.
And I didn't even watch the video yet. I just saw that you did and saw what she said about it. And I went, oh, wow. Jeffrey's got this event coming up, Called to Lead, about saying yes to our call. And wow, what a great connection between money. And you know my story. I love God. I've always loved God. I've always loved spiritual things. I've always been in love with doing churchy type of things. My mom was always supportive of that. She always was proud of me for that. So I go off to college thinking I'm going to be an accountant like my brother Bill and decide I want to be a theology major. And I come home thinking she is going to be so excited for me. And I go, Mom, I'm going to be a theology major. And you know what she said? Oh, no, Teresa, you can't do that. You've got to make money. You've got student loans to pay. And the trajectory my life took my life became about making money and doing what I had to do to make money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to say right now in response to my story that maybe segues into what we're going to be talking about here?
Well, it just shows me the elegance of our wounding in service to our life's calling. If you hadn't gone off to be an accountant, right? If you hadn't first caught in the spirit bug, right?
Yeah.
And got enthused by your love for God, and then had this wrench thrown in with your wounding.
Yep.
And said, nope, you got to choose the money. And you didn't get the training to be an accountant and didn't actually learn what numbers are, etc. You wouldn't be able to serve people in integrating money and God, right? You wouldn't be able to do that. Yep. You wouldn't know what the struggle is around that. You wouldn't have the training in accounting to actually understand basic numbers.
Right.
You wouldn't have this lifelong yearning and relationship for spiritual things. And you wouldn't know what the struggle is that people go through to put those two things together. So I think it's beautiful. I think our wounding is so elegant. The trajectory of our wounding in service to our life's work, it's so precise. It astounds me. And the funny thing is, oftentimes we have a difficult time saying yes to our calling until we start to reconcile our wounds. Because until we can start to reconcile our wounds and actually go, if I had to, I'd choose it again. I'd choose the whole thing again. Because now I see how beautifully and perfectly and profoundly it set me up for what my life is really meant to be about. It set me up for this life's work. So you can really like honor, almost worship at the feet of the wound as the training and development program for this profound gift it helped you birth.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk more about this purpose, this calling, these big ideas that we have that we ignore or we run from or we use money as an excuse to avoid. Let's talk about that.
So first, let me make a definition, which is the distinction between a calling and a purpose.
Okay.
Because a lot of people use them interchangeably, and I think you can, but I actually think they're a little different from one another. A purpose is a utility, right? The purpose of these guys are so that you come into better focus, right? You know, so like the purpose of this is to make sure that my lips are moist, right? Like there's a purpose to all these utilities. And when we think about our life's purpose, it's like, okay, well, if I were a utility, how could I be used, right? Oh, I have these skills, these gifts, these capacities. Oh, I could be used in these different ways in the world. Okay, great. And when a lot of people are asking, what's my purpose? They're looking at those sorts of things, along with things like, if I had a year left to live, what would I do and die before I die? Or when have I been most alive? And trying to go, okay, well, my purpose is over there. But a calling is something that gets placed on your heart, right? I don't know a better way to say it, but it is this knowing that there's something for you to do in this world, some contribution for you to make. And oftentimes it doesn't come with clarity about even what it is. Oftentimes where it starts is clarity about what it's not, right? Oh, this isn't it anymore. This isn't my life. This isn't the journey anymore. I can't keep doing this, right? You know, for me, I remember being at Microsoft. I was in training and development at Microsoft. You know, very good job, yada, yada. And just feeling dead in it. And eventually I started making some really dumb mistakes. Just dumb mistakes, like mistakes I would have never made earlier in my career. And like the people that were my clients were all like Fortune 500 CEOs. Occasionally it was a world leader, right? These are people you cannot make mistakes with. And so, right? So I saw the writing on the walls. I was like, okay, either I change or it's going to boot me out because this isn't it anymore. And of course I was scared and didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was. I just knew that wasn't it. And then the universe finds interesting little ways to speak to you, right? For me, I went on this date with this guy named James Shank. He's the owner of this restaurant in San Francisco called Destino, which is still open today, which is a huge deal in that city. And we just had a fabulous time. I didn't have like a romantic connection with him at all. But he told me all about how he used a coach to start his business. And, you know, he was saying how this coach said, like, how do you want people to feel in the restaurant? If they have a conversation, what kind of conversation might they have? If they talk about their experience the next day, what would they say? Right? Really built the soul of the restaurant first and then said, great, what's the price point? What's the decor? What's the location, et cetera, right? Built the restaurant from the inside out.
Wow.
And I was fascinated. I went home and I like talked to all my friends. I'm like, oh my God, I went to this date with this guy. He's a single coach. And I'm like, Jeffrey, you should do that. Right? Okay, yeah. Anyway, right. Next person. Went on this date with this guy. He's a single coach. And after maybe a half dozen of those conversations, they're like, oh.
Whoops, we just lost Jeffrey. Oh, he's back.
All right. Yep, we're here. So,
okay.
So it was just like, oh, maybe I should do that. Right.
Uh-huh.
And I still remember I did research and whatnot and signed up for a coaching course. And I still remember I can still remember seeing the brick wall of the hotel as I'm sitting in my car before I walk in the front door, right? It was a training in some ballroom. And just having this pit in my gut, like, this is going to change everything. Little did I know.
Yeah.
From where I'm sitting today. Oh, that's funny. But I was like, oh, this is going to change everything. And I didn't know it would lead me here, right? I didn't know it would lead to this whole body of work around working with people around their wounds and who their market is. I didn't know it'd work around helping people really step into their bigger calling. I didn't know it'd have me move into working with people around core wounds and resolving the polarization and the inner battle. I didn't know any of that stuff. All I knew was I went on this date and it sparked something in me. And then the next thing I knew, months later, sitting in the parking lot, having this pit in my gut, oh, it's going to change everything, right? And so it's like the process is very much like following the seeds,
right,
as best you can. But the biggest scare was quitting Microsoft. Because I was still coaching like nights and weekends, like a little life coach in San Francisco. And I had no idea how to make the finances work.
Well, in San Francisco,
it is not a cheap city to live in. Nope. Definitely not. And I quit in 2006. I got trained in 2005. I quit Microsoft in 2006. But here's the grace. And this is the part that we often can't see. And I believe that our calling is designed to foster faith in us. I think on some deep level, the role of a calling is to foster faith. Faith in ourselves, faith in others, and faith in something larger than ourselves. So I quit. And really, I basically got fired. Technically, I quit, but it was like, dude, this ain't working. And I'm like, I know. Okay, I'll go. I put myself all throughout college. I waited tables at really nice restaurants. And I hadn't waited tables in years, right? And so here I find myself 33 years old, having had a career at Microsoft. I've got training as a life coach, and I'm barely making money, right? I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to connect with people. I didn't know how to sell. That was a really uphill battle for me for many years. But my friend was going back to school and was a hostess at this restaurant at the St. Regis Hotel in San Francisco, this gorgeous restaurant called Ame. And she's like, oh, we need a daytime server and you can work 4 shifts a week and get full benefits because it's a union shop, right? Because it's a hotel. And it was amazing. I'm like, okay, I got to eat some humble pie and become a waiter again. But I had built my coaching career on nights and weekends outside of Microsoft. So the daytime shifts worked well. Yeah. I was there for maybe 6 months. And then that restaurant decided to stop doing a lunch service. And so all the lunch servers got laid off. And of course, I collected unemployment. and my unemployment was based on my Microsoft salary because it's based on your last year's taxes. And it was really the unemployment checks coupled with not having to work anywhere that allowed me to really build my business. And that's the sort of stuff, like, you can't make that stuff up. You can't see it coming. You can't design it. You can't architect it. You can only say yes. Or you can refuse it, right? And have a whole different journey. But when something feels right? And I knew when my friend offered me that job, I was like, I hated eating that. Like, I'm going to be a waiter again in my 30s. So yeah, sometimes we have to like be humbled. But man, is it a wild ride when you start saying yes.
Yeah. And what do you think in terms of money? I mean, I know my journey. I can look back now, but I'm curious on yours.
Oh, I have a big opinion about that.
Do you want
Not about your money, about money in general.
Go ahead and share. You got me curious.
So I'm going to make a distinction between two types of businesses. There's a type of business where you choose to do something. And that's what most people do with most businesses. I'm choosing to make this widget. I'm choosing to make this app. I'm choosing to start this venture, or I'm choosing to take this job, whatever it is. We see it. It sounds fun. We say yes and we do it, right? We choose and we do. With a calling, it chooses us.
Wow.
We don't choose it. It chooses us. And there's a whole different journey that we have to go through to choose it back. And so just starting with that distinction, choosing something or being chosen for something, very different journeys, right? And I don't know that everybody has a calling, right? I think it is a unique path for some people. Not a better or worse path, but a unique path. And ultimately, when we are chosen for something, it puts us onto our hero's journey, right? The call to adventure is the calling, right? Yep. And then the beginning of the journey is all about the refusal of the call.
Yes.
I don't want this calling. Why me? Can't someone else do this? That's one part of it. The other part is all the self-doubt. You sure you chose right? I'm sure I'm not the one. Right? I can't do this. Why would anybody want this for me? For the longest time, Teresa, my belief, my unconscious belief, was nobody wants what I've got. Nobody really wants what I've got. And so I ended up partnering with people for many years before I started my own business, because I just couldn't stand in a place of value that people would want what I have, right? If I partnered with them and they want what they have and I can maybe add some value, great. And it was funny because, I have these events and people would walk up to me and be like, we're here for you, right? Now, they may have said that to my partner as well, but my people were there for me, right? But I just couldn't fully take it in. And that's part of what I think happens on our calling in particular, because ultimately what we must do on the calling is return back home from our wounding. So our wounding sends us out on that trajectory, right? You split money and God, right? You can have money or you can have God, but you can't have both. So you have student loans, so you can't do theology, so you better be an accountant and choose money, right? And so you split them and you set out on your journey until it hurt so effing much to keep them split that, you know, as Pat famously says, this ain't living, right? The famous like stake in the ground moment where you're like, I can't effing do this anymore. No way. I'm unwilling to.
Yes. And on top of it, Jeffrey, it didn't work.
Well, that's the funny thing. It worked on some levels, but it didn't fully work. If it had fully worked, you just keep doing it, right?
Exactly.
So then we start the journey back home to mend the disparate parts back together, right? And in doing so, we reclaim lost parts of ourselves. We become more whole and full, and holy, if you will. We become vibrant. We become sovereign. And that's the version of us that's most capable of partnering with the thing that sent the call in the first place, partnering with the life force of the call. Yeah. So that's kind of the journey. Now, let's get to the money part.
Right.
Because in the first part of the journey, especially, our calling is designed to elicit our wounding and victimization. It's designed to do it. Because only in working through our wounds and victimization do we do the work to come home to ourselves, right? And become that powerful, full, vibrant, expressive person who can actually say yes to the call. Right? I said, there is the thing you choosing to do something and being chosen for something. The question is, have you chosen it back? Mm-hmm. And for so many people, the answer is, I'm trying to. I'd like to. I want to.
But
fill in the blank, right? Fill in many blanks.
Yes.
So now let's add this interesting component. Try selling a service where what you're selling at its essential level is you, right? You're not selling a widget. You're not selling clothing. On some level, especially when you're selling service, you're selling you. And if, when you point this finger in here and look in here, you don't like what you see, and then you're asking people to pay for it, good luck.
Right.
Right? It's like, I want you to demonstrate to me that I have value, even though I question my own value.
Yep. So let's see. Then we got a little what you do. I don't know what to do about that.
I'm not hearing it, if that's any consolation.
Okay. Then I won't. Is anybody else hearing feedback, or is it just me? Not seeing anybody. Okay, cool. So then what you do, especially if you need the money or you're desperate for the money, is you keep lowering the prices of your services, because they'll at least pay for it if it's cheap, which really reflects how you see yourself. Can you say anything?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different things that you might do. So some people are hearing a feedback, and I am not sure what to do about it, but let's see if I can get my mic a little closer.
It's not happening when you're talking, so you're good.
All right, cool. Afterwards, let's have a tech conversation. I have a few tips.
Cool.
But it involves a few purchases on Amazon. So there's a bunch of things we do. One of the things we do is lower our price. Another thing we do is add more service to justify the price.
Yes.
Another thing we do is overgive and overgive and overgive.
Yes.
You know, so there's a lot of different variations of discounting our value.
Yeah.
I remember, Teresa, years ago, I did this video launch of a product, and I hired this guy that was supposed to be this video expert, right? And I paid him $5,000 to do 2 hours of consulting, to lay out this video launch on this product. And it was a bunch of when Suzanne and I did the Spiritual Marketing Quest, we had a bunch of like Spiritual Marketing Quest in a box product, which is a bunch of DVDs and worksheets and yada yada of the event. Mm-hmm. We had a bunch extra, so we were trying to like get rid of them, essentially, right? And it was the biggest flop of a launch I've ever done in my career. We did make $5,000, so we paid for our consulting, but we didn't make anything more than that. So we were at a zero after paying for the consulting and doing months of work to lay out all these videos and everything else. I don't know why I'm supposed to share this. Two different parts of the story. So one part of the story is this: we were an hour and 45 minutes into the 2-hour consulting session, and we'd kind of wrapped up, right? We'd gone through everything we need to. And I said, hey, we've got 15 minutes left. Could we like put those in the bank and maybe talk to you if we have questions down the road and use those 15 minutes then? And he just said, no, this exchange is complete. And at first I was kind of like taken aback, but then I was like, damn, that is awesome that he's able to just stand in his value, right? Like, nope, this energetic exchange is complete. We're done. Goodbye. It was amazing, right? Wow. And he said, look, we're also buddies and friends. So like, if you do have a message, reach out to me. But like for this exchange, we're done. And a lot of the people I see that are in worlds we hang in have a difficult time with something like that. Right? Yeah. They'd find some way to fill that 15 minutes or say, oh, sure, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Here's the other part of the story. So we launch it, we make $5,000. So we're at a complete net zero. And afterwards, I'm checking in with my guidance. I'm like, what's up with that? Why didn't this work? And the guidance said, Jeffrey, you are trying to move product and your job is to move people.
Wow.
That's a big lesson.
That's a big lesson. And that's like me. I was trying to make money.
Right.
You know, acting like I was trying to, I mean, and I was, but underneath.
Yeah.
Because going back to my wounding even earlier, when I got that somehow money, you know, makes me good enough or not good enough or fit in, you know, the other part of the story, that hurt too much and I didn't have, so now I want money, but I don't have money. So right. How am I going to correct that? I'm going to be like a saint who gives up money and worldly possessions because then God loves me and that makes it okay to not have money.
Right. And either or.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you've talked a little bit about wounding. You've defined call. You know, my tribe, you know, their wounds are a worthless wound of some level, not important, not deserving. They don't matter. What they want and doesn't matter. So they're going to ignore it. They're going to put it off. They're going to be the ones
I don't matter.
I got to handle this, all that sort of stuff. What's the, you know, I can look back at me now, Jeffrey, and I can see, okay, if I'm inside, I'm meant to be an apple tree. I've spent a lot of my life trying to be an orange tree.
Yeah.
Even to the point of hanging orange fruit on the branches to try and pretend I'm an orange tree.
Look, everybody.
There's no abundance in that path. So how does someone who's in that place and hearing about this calling that may be choosing to them or the something that's coming from their heart, how do they bring those together?
So one of the things I'm doing at the Call to Lead event is we're looking at the role of our of disruption and being disruptors for good. The first person that you're calling disrupts is you. Right?
Amen.
Not just pattern interrupt us, pattern disrupt us. The first person that disrupts is you. So here's what I'd say. This world has 7.6 billion people in it, and this calling chose you, right? And if you doubt it and feel worthless or like it can't be me, I don't have any value, etc. I would encourage someone in that place to go, maybe God didn't screw up. Maybe in the 7.6 billion people, I was chosen for a reason. And maybe by just entertaining the idea that I am called, it actually puts me on a path to work through some of my worthlessness wounds. Maybe this is a gift that I can't see yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm often not very interested in like I know when people talk about like psychics or something like that, like, is it real? Is it fake? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm always kind of like, I don't really care. All I care is about whether or not it's useful. Right? I don't care if it's like, oh, I channel an owl and this is owl wisdom, right? Like, I don't care where the hell you get it from. If it's useful, I'll use it. If it's not, I'll chuck it. You know, that inquiry of like, okay, maybe I was chosen, and maybe this is a gift, and maybe this is designed to put me in a path to understand my worth and my value in a way that I just can't see it right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of your mind that will most likely ask, is that true? Or am I just making that up? Is that a bunch of BS, right? And I say this thing about I really don't care if you're making it all up or not. I don't care if it's true with a capital T or not. Is it a useful consideration? Right? Would it support me in if I don't like feeling worthless? If I don't like feeling like I don't have any real value, if I don't like feeling like maybe I'm dismissible or invisible or whatever it is, could I entertain the possibility that I have a calling, and that if I do, that the calling's number one job is to be a gift to me? So funny, because when we think of a calling, we think about who we're called to serve, right? What the calling is, what we're called to change in the world. But we don't think about much the role of the calling in our lives.
Right.
Right? How it's meant to transform us.
Yeah.
And at a bigger level, Teresa, there's this. On some level, all of my tribe, we're here to do what I call tell humanity's new story, right? To usher a new consciousness into this world through our lives and through our businesses. In particular areas of life, around money, around relationships, around business, around government, etc. When you think about that, especially through our business, we're integrating the world of spirituality and the world of commerce. We're called, right? There's this spiritual calling, and we're translating it into some expression through our business or through our leadership. And in doing so, we're marrying and integrating spirituality and commerce, right? Mm-hmm. Heaven and earth, right? Mm-hmm. If we want to tell humanity's new story, that is by its very nature ushering advanced consciousness, heavenly consciousness into this planet, into earth. Uh, and one of the big challenges for us, I think, on this earth, one of the big collective wounds we have is a not enough wound, a scarcity wound.
Yeah.
I'm not enough. There's not enough. It's not enough. There'll never be enough, right? Some version of not enough. That's a primary wound for all humans.
Yep.
And ultimately, that's a worthlessness wound, right? Not enough, right? Or it's very close to a worthlessness wound. Therefore, I'm worthless.
Yeah.
So I would say that your tribe has a really significant role to play in ushering in a new story to our world, right? Has a really significant role to play in telling a new story around the not enough myth that we have in our human experience.
Yes.
And one of the things I think our role is as leaders is to say to our tribe, to remind our tribe, hey, you're a hero. You've just forgotten your cape, right? Here it is, right? Like, oh, I had amnesia. I didn't realize I was a superhero.
Yeah.
And I believe that all tribes collectively, each tribe has a particular mission. And Teresa, I believe that your tribe and the people that have this dance with worthlessness and value, your role on our planet is to tell a new story about scarcity and abundance, to tell a new story about the not enough myth. And the only way you'll be able to be messengers of the new story is to understand the myth intimately.
I got it.
So what a blessing to know that myth intimately, and to know what it's like to know that it's to not realize that it's a myth, right? That's the gift. So if we can even just start to begin to think, oh God, maybe there's a gift in my worthlessness. Maybe there's a gift in all the struggle I've had. Maybe there's a gift in beating against the walls and crying, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Meanwhile, God's just like, oh, I'll wait.
You're so cute.
Wait lovingly. I'm right here.
So this segues in, Jeffrey. You know, I came to know your work through Pat. And then one day, it was last August, she said, Teresa, he's doing this live stream from LA. You got to watch. And that was the one where you talked about life force. So, you know, many people are going to be, yeah. I want to come to Call to Lead. This is resonating, or I want to say yes to what's calling to me. But how do I know I'm going to be able to pay the bills, or, you know, all that sort of stuff. So can you connect this with that wonderful life-changing concept?
So, this is one of those like pieces of consciousness that just popped through the veil one day. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
And the message was this, and I'll say it how I hear it, which is Jeffrey. It's always this Jeffrey. All ideas, all inspired ideas, have a life force to them, and all the resources for the full expression of that inspired idea are attached to the life force of the idea. They're not attached to you or anybody else. The resources needed are all attached to the life force of the idea. And so long as we stay in relationship and partnership with the life force of that sucker, right, and listen and discern and say yes and act, and listen and discern and say yes and act, and do that repeatedly, we're going to stay on track. And lo and behold, everything we're going to need is right there at every turn, even when we can't see it.
Yes.
Right? Because it's attached to the life force, not to you. So if you're in relationship with the life force, you're good. Now, here's the challenge. I think we have 4 basic relationships to life force. 1, totally unaware of it. 2, think it's bullshit.
Yep.
3, believe in it, but you're part-time lovers. And 4, full-time partners. So let me talk about 2 or about 3 and 4, because most everybody here is going to be probably in 3, which is, okay, I believe in this life force. I might call it God. I might call it spiritual guidance. I might call it whatever, right? But I believe in that. But what we tend to do is we plug in for the big aha. Oh, I'm supposed to do this in the world. Here is my calling. Great. Thanks, guys. Now I'll go off and do it.
Yep.
And we unplug and we just put our nose to the grindstone and work. Not remembering that this life force has turn-by-turn instructions, right? Go here, say this, introduce yourself to that person, open this door, read that book, follow that person's blog, sign up for that course, have this conversation, launch this course, develop this collaboration, right? We can't see all the instructions at one time. We wouldn't be able to retain it all, right? And we'd probably screw it all up anyway.
Right.
Right? So the universe works in a very need-to-know basis. And when we say, hey, I've been following my calling, why isn't the money there? Hey, I've been doing it, why aren't the clients there? My question is, are you staying in a relationship with the life force of this thing? Or are you saying, I got the big idea, thanks, I'll take it from here?
Yep.
And we do that until it gets so freaking painful that we say uncle and tune back in. And that's the drama of it.
Yeah. And as I'm listening, it's like, there's the abundance. It's all right there.
Yeah.
It's our scarcity myth that takes it off. Like, I got to figure it out. I got to control it and all of that.
So here's the mechanism of that.
Mm-hmm.
The fantasy of our wounds is that we can work our way out of them.
Yeah.
So if I'm worthless, I can work enough to prove my worth and value. If I'm a failure, I can work enough to prove that I'm a success. If I, whatever, fill in the blank, whatever the thing is, I can work my way out of the wound. Now, here's what's wild about that. We're the ones with the freaking beliefs. I'm worthless. I'm a piece of shit. I'm unlovable. Right? Right? And yet we're busy out there in the world trying to prove this thing to be untrue. And we do the same thing with our calling. We get the big idea and say, oh, fantastic. Thank you, God. Right? And then we unplug and say, I'll take it from here. And we get busy proving our worth and our value by pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm going to do it, God. I'm going to do it, universe. I'm going to do this life force. I don't need you. We aren't saying that consciously, but that's what we're doing. Right. And so the reason the abundance isn't there is because the abundance doesn't live inside of the striving to prove our wounds to be untrue. The abundance lives inside of the life force of our calling.
Yeah. Bingo. So I have one question on that. Then I want to hear about Called to Lead a little bit. And then I want to open it up for any questions or comments at the time we have left. Sound like a plan?
That sounds like a plan. And I'll say, if anybody has questions or comments, feel free to type them in now so that they're there when we get to it.
Sounds good. Good idea. So I can also get how people will go just the opposite with this. Oh, I just have to trust the call and everything's going to be fine, like that magical thinking. And that's not what you're saying at all. Can you speak to the difference?
So I believe that our calling is meant to work us over first, right? It's meant to disrupt our own lives first.
Oh, yeah.
It's meant to serve us first. And I think of it as a refinery, right? Where we get the gunk off and we become more and more refined, more pure, if you will. And so I also think it's a fantasy to think that we can, right off the bat, stay in connection with a life force pretty much all the time. We're just not gonna, right? Our ego is still gonna say, do it, push it, prove it, go, right? And we're gonna unplug and we're gonna do our own thing, and then we're gonna fail and have our face plant. We're gonna brush ourselves off. We're gonna plug back in to reorient ourselves and get back on track for a while. And then we're like, oh, this is so good. And then we're gonna take it and we're gonna run with it.
Yep.
And we're gonna unplug and we're gonna do the same thing.
That's my life.
Right. And then hopefully, we'll learn from it each time, or at least most of the times. And we'll open and we'll grow. And over time, we'll catch ourselves when we want to unplug and take it from here. And we'll go, oh, look at that. Look at that. And we'll stay plugged in, right?
Yeah.
And we'll find the ways where we want to act out of our wound. And we'll notice that we don't necessarily need to.
Yep.
And over time, we get into this state of grace that we can live in more and more. And here's the other side of this that I find. Once that happens, there's a whole different part of the journey, which is the universe saying, great, now we can rock and roll. Now we can really get going. Like you did the bulk of the work on you. Now you can really be an agent of change in the world, right? And then there's a whole different journey of putting big stakes in the ground, of making big declarations, of having big commitments, of taking bigger risks in service to this thing in the world, to expand the reach of this work that wants to flow through you. And that's a very different journey. Mm-hmm. But when you, I have one filter for decisions. Mm-hmm. Is there life force in this?
Yeah.
Is there life force in this? That's it. It's the most efficient filter. And it's so funny because there's times when my mind really wants to do something. And I just ask that question, is there any life force in there? Nope. Flatline? Nope. But, nope. And my guidance says, look, Jeffrey, you can still do it. It'll either yield nothing for you or screw stuff up. But you're a choice. You can, right? I remember a couple of years ago, I had two different programs that I invested in. I spent like 50 or 60 grand working with some people that year. And the first one, it really made sense, right? And they made a good argument, good sales. And I remember tuning in, like, is there life force in here? And it was kind of like, eh. And the message I got was like, yeah, Jeffrey, you can do this. You'll get some value out of it, but not a ton. Was kind of like, and I did it. And I did it on purpose. Because I was like, okay, well, let's check this out. Sure enough, it was completely lackluster. And I had to fly back and forth to Philadelphia 5 times throughout a year. I got really nothing out of it much, right? Some, but not much. Later that year, there's somebody else I wanted to work with. And offer had way less in it for way more money. But it was such a like, yes, right? Such an obvious, like, this is where I need to be. And so I decided to work with that guy. and it was amazing, right? Like really, really amazing. And this coming year, I might actually do some work for their clients. So it's just so fascinating to watch. I mean, it can be even something as simple as, oh, this is a funny one. And then I'll shut up about this. I think when you were in Santa Monica for one of those events, there was one of those like hair places that sells shampoo and hairspray and all the hair products, right? In Santa Monica, and it was going out of business. It was like everything 50% off. And I needed, well, first of all, I walked by and I was like, right, I grew up as a Dutchman in Michigan. So Dutchman and 50% off, super high-end products, great, right? Even though there wasn't life force for me to walk through the door, but I did. And then there was this shampoo and conditioner that I was looking at, and I decided to buy it, but I didn't notice like there were two different versions of it, and I ended up buying the version for like color treated hair. I remember trying this Life Force thing and like, yeah, it's flat. I was like, okay, but I still need shampoo. Like I'll run out of shampoo eventually and I'll use this and it's half price and I'm justifying it, right? And I walk out, I get home, I look and I'm like, oh, good God. There wasn't Life Force in it and there's the result, right?
Yeah.
It cracked me up. I mean, it's like what, a $40 lesson, but still it's just funny. So that's the thing I would encourage people to do is to start asking yourself, is there life force in this? Yep. And start to use that as a decision-making filter for your life, for purchases. Like I'll do it about clothing, right? I'll do it about hair products, apparently. I'll do it about, $20,000, $30,000 investments in a mentorship. I'll do it about everything. And there's times when, man, my mind wants to do something, but there's just not any life force in it. And the more I learn to honor that, the less drama there becomes in my life, the more ease there is, the more abundance there is, because I'm not wasting my money on crap I don't actually need. And the places that I say yes have tons of resources. Oh, okay, last story. Recently, for years, people have said, like, Jeffrey, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I've been like, I'm not feeling it. And I never wanted to write a book just for the sake of writing a book. And then this year, I've gone through some big changes and was like, okay, universe, I'm willing to like really expand my reach, right? And then it just hit me like, oh, it's time for me to write a book. And I'm ready. Okay. Great. I'm writing a book in 2019. I just made that declaration, right? Maybe a month later, maybe less, I go to said mentor's event, the one that brought so much juice and value, right? I sat next to this gal that I hadn't ever met before. We had lunch the next day. Turns out she's his book editor. And like super connected and like one of the top editors around. And we just had this beautiful mind meld and heart meld. And I'm like, you're supposed to help me write this book. She goes, I know. Right. So she's going to help me write this book. So that's what I mean by like all of the resources are connected to the life force of the calling. There was life force for me to sign up to go to that. I went to it. The resources to write the book were waiting there for me, unbeknownst to me, right? Like time after time after time after time. All of the resources, all of the abundance is connected to the life force of the calling, not to you and not to other people.
Yes. And that tying it all back, that goes back to what you said. The purpose of our calling is to grow faith, something like that.
Yeah.
There's the faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us quick about this event, Called to Lead. I'm going, but tell us what it's about, who it's for, and then people can ask if there's life force for them to go to it.
I love that. I used to do events a lot, and it takes a lot of energy to put on an event, right? Mm-hmm. And at some point, I swore them off. Doing events again. And then last year, I kept getting this nudge. It's time to bring this tribe together. Time to bring this tribe together. And so I had my first event in many years last year, and having another one this year. The purpose is a little different from last year. The way I'm hearing the purpose is a little different from last year to this year. So the who it's for are people that are meant to shake shit up in this world, meant to be disruptors, meant to be edge riders, meant to do something different in this world, meant to bring a new consciousness to people, meant to change things. And they know it. They might not like it. On some level, they might argue against it. They probably don't like it. Most likely don't like it, right? And almost no, I've never met a person who likes their calling or who particularly wants it, right? But yet they can at least acknowledge, I am meant to do this. I am called. And are usually in one of two places. Either they're doing that plug in, unplug, plug in, unplug, plug in, unplug, and have not yet really developed the kind of faith to stay in relationship with their calling, and are just plain and old sick of the drama of that stuff. Or they built something that was really true at one time, but it's time for something new, right? There's some bigger calling asking them to step into it. And that's really a lot of it, is a lot of these people like, yeah, I'm doing something purposeful, but there's a truer expression or a bigger expression or a more expansive expression waiting to happen. And usually where people feel like they're at in relationship to that is, but either I don't know what it is, or it scares the bejesus out of me, or I feel really alone in the process of thinking about saying yes to it. I don't necessarily know who needs it. I don't know how to monetize it. I don't know how to expand the business around it. And I don't know how to expand the faith around it, right? So that's essentially what the event is it's about expanding the business and the faith around the calling and seeing what are you meant to disrupt in this world, right? What's your role in disrupting either certain people's lives, purposeful disruption, certain industries, certain governments, certain educational systems, whatever it is, right? What are you meant to disrupt, and who are you meant to disrupt it for in service to? That's on one side. That's the tearing things down. The other side is, what's the movement you're meant to either spark or be a part of, right? If all creation starts with the destruction, right? That's why it's actually healthy for forests to burn every now and again. It keeps a forest vital if it burns every now and again, right? And it springs back to life. So what are you meant to disrupt, and what are you meant to be in service to this thing that's springing forth in the world? And what's your role in it, right? Because we all have different roles. That's essentially what we're up to there, is looking at. I'll say one more thing, and then I'll shut up about it. Oh, my dog really wants to be fed because it is 4 o'clock. I know. She's a alarm clock, 4 p.m. on the dot. It's when she's deaf, so I still tell her to shush, and she's deaf. Okay, how am I going to do this with her whining? Here's what I know. I know she'll be not interested. She'll just lick my face and squeal even more. No. She doesn't take me seriously when I'm laughing. Okay, part of the calling is not taking ourselves so seriously. So look, I think we're in a time of great disruption in our world, right? If I look at Trump and Kavanaugh and like the Me Too movement and everything else, like we're in a time of great change in our world. And so many of us are being activated into the next level of our calling. and we're being activated to be of service to help pave a new path for humanity in a lot of different ways. And one of the things I look at in response to like the Me Too movement is, Dalai Lama said the Western woman will change the world. But I think that the reason we're looking at all the Me Too movement, everything that's coming up in response to that in our culture, is we need to reconcile some of the trauma that's been had in our patriarchy for thousands of years. If the women that are meant to rise up and have a voice and pave a new path are going to be able to do that. We can't keep that in the closet and rise up, right? So we're in a really interesting time, and so many of the people that I'm around, I know, are called to be a part of supporting people and moving through this process of change, of reconciling some of their trauma, reconciling some of their wound, finding their power, finding their voice, tuning into their guidance, and speaking a truth that they are on earth to speak. That's why we're coming together.
Cool. So it's November 8th, 9th, 10th, I think.
November 8th, 9th, 10th.
In LA.
Yep.
Just want to announce this, and we'll do a quick check-in with people. Those of you listening or those of you catching the replay, I have 2 spots to calltoleadlive.com that you can have the opportunity to win, and you need to do something free spots. So here's the thing. If you would like to, if you feel there's life force to you coming to Call to Lead, whether it's free or not, if there's life force for you to come to Call to Lead, then all you need to do is, Jeffrey just left, he's coming back, is share this video, this Facebook live stream, share it on Facebook, tag me when you do, and here's the part of earning it. It's not just as easy as sharing it. You have to speak in part of your sharing. What's at least one thing that we've talked about that really spoke to or served you, so that the message can start to get out as well. If you do that between now and the end of the day tomorrow, Friday morning, I'll get up, I'll check all the people who have shared it, and I will get in touch with you if you win the drawing for one of the 2 free spots I have to Call to Lead. So I will be there. I know a couple others you aren't going to be here. Let's do a quick check, Jeffrey, on comments and stuff like that.
Great. And for those of you that want to check it out, it's calltoleadlive.com.
Right.
Calltoleadlive.com. And whether or not you win these 2 tickets that we're making available through Teresa or purchase a ticket, we're still in early bird pricing right now, which is $5.97. So it's a relatively inexpensive event on
there
purpose.
You go. Calltoleadlive.com.
So I have a few more minutes for questions, then I need to hop off.
Okay, so a quick comment from Laura. She said, thank you for sharing. You are so spot on. My ego has been taking over, and I've forgotten to ask if it has life force. So thanks for sharing that, Laura.
Yeah.
And so a question here. What was that?
I just went mwah to Laura.
Okay, cool. And then here's a question from Pauline, which I think is a really great one. Is recognizing life force in something directly related to my own life force?
Yes. If you don't have access to your own life force, the chances of you recognizing life force anyplace else is slim to none. So it's being in relationship with your own life force. Absolutely is a part of being in relationship to the life force of your calling.
Cool. Great. Thank you for that, Pauline. And thank you, Jeffrey. I know we just went a little over. Tessie reminded us of that. Thank you for your generosity, for being here. I had a lot of fun, and as always, I learned a lot. I hope you've had some fun. I saw a bunch of
Thank you.
your spiritual Tourette's, so I know that's a good thing. And we'll connect some other time with those technical suggestions you wanted to give me. Sound like a plan?
Good. That sounds good.
All of you, thanks for being here. Please share this video One, just to contribute and share it with people you know, but also if you tag me and share something significant, you may win a free ticket to Call to Lead Live. Thanks, Jeffrey. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.